Browns Film Breakdown has everything you need for today from Berea, all the updates from both teams on really quiet injury reports, and then some time spent with coaches and players. We'll enlighten you on what we learned today, and then we're going to have some discussion with Brad Ward at the start here where we go through some of our interesting notes on Survivor Pool, the Thursday night game, the awesome thing we have coming up at Browns Film Breakdown, the competition you should get involved in right away this week to have some fun in the Survivor Pool all year. And then a Bengals guest will join us as we go behind enemy lines and we talk with a great Locked On Bengals host who will enlighten us, Jake Liscow, about what to expect in week one. So plenty of great things coming up on today's Browns Film Breakdown. Let's get started right now. What's up? Welcome in, everybody. It's Jake. It's Brad. We're here. It is Thursday, September 4th. Brad, what's up? What's good, man? What's going on in your world?
Not much, man. I'm fighting off a little sinus infection, but we'll be okay. We'll make it to the other side. Kevin Stefanski, some shenanigans at the podium today, making me laugh with the dropping the airplane line on Tony Grossi was the highlight of my day with the Shirley, you can't be serious. And that made me laugh. That made my day, I think, Jake. So that was great.
I would say that being the highlight of the day, Berea, is a good thing because that means it was pretty quiet. Yes. It means the injury report was shallow. It means nothing of a surprising nature, which is what you want going into week one. Only Mike Hall didn't practice today. As far as the official injury report, it's a light group for both sides. Again, it's what you want. As far as, those little banged up end of training camp injuries. So I think that's in a good spot, Brad. I think you should feel optimistic about that. And really, I know the Bengals do as well, but it's just worth noting. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Strange that the Bengals injury report has no one on it at all. So not one person was limited in practice. And literally on Monday, the thing, Jake, is that I wrote about it in the opening drive that Al Golden was talking about DJ Turner's ability to move, and that was going to play into whether he would start or not opposite Cam Taylor-Britt. So it's kind of weird that nobody shows up on this report.
It is very weird, man. It's very strange to have like you said, not a single person. It's almost like a Belichick depth chart going on.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, Joe Bitonio gets the first day of practice for the week off, so that'll be a thing all year. Diabate, we finally figure out, Brad, that it's a quad that he's dealing with. So he was limited, but it appears he's on track to play this weekend. But it is good to at least have some identification. I don't know why that was so discreet. It's not some super crazy injury, So strange there. Shelby Harris must have what you have. He's an illness.
Yeah.
You're here plugging through, limited on the podcast. We make the best we can. Around that. Cornelius Lucas was dealing with the ankle. He was a full participant. That's good to see. Ethan Posick limited with the knee, as we know in the week 3 game there. Cedric Tillman, a full participant with the thumb that he'd been dealing with that had him sitting out of the final preseason game. Denzel Ward, shoulder designation, limited, but practicing. And then Blake Whiteheart with the knee is limited. And like we said, it was very quiet on the Bengals side. Not much to it. That's what we know. So again, it's nice to at least know Diabate is officially a quad, so we have an idea there, because you just start to wonder if it's something more weird or strange, and it's good to know it's not that crazy, so it's good to be in a better spot.
Is it oddly quiet for week one? Like, I would have thought we would have heard from Chase by now, or somebody spouting off with some bulletin board material, and I mean it's oddly quiet on both sides, don't you think?
I do think it's quiet, but I mean, I think with the way the Browns can be so noisy in the wrong ways sometimes, it is
it's a good
omen. It's a good omen for the Browns. I wish there was a little more noisy on the Bengals side, but I digress a little bit there. We're going to talk with a guest and see where they're at, and I guess I'll feel that out with Jake, how the no injury designation stuff is sitting there. Maybe they have a little more insight. But anyway, let's talk about a couple things. We mentioned yesterday the assist opportunity coming up this weekend. I will be posting more information on that in the chat tomorrow and Friday, and how you can find it, where you can watch it. you have the opportunity, you can even, have it up on your cell phone while you're watching the game. They are at some point going to have a TV app for this. For now, they don't. So you're kind of constrained to like having an iPad or something. If you want to watch along, if you want to hear Brad and I talk about the game, go through our thoughts as they're happening, you guys are more than welcome to do that and join us. We would love to have you there. And it's just another way to be interactive. We're kind of early in the setup here. So like I said, I mean, I think there's going to be more from this company, but we're trying to be more of like the beta side for them, see what it's like, see if we can grow with them and make it a thing for us and do something better than, what a YouTube follow along is, where it's really hard to sync up time and you get things ruined. So we're excited about that. And then the super contest, Brett, I thought it was interesting because tonight the NFL kicks off. It's going to be on Peacock, so you might need to renew your subscription to watch this Eagles Cowboys game. But the survivor pool, if you've missed it, is something we're offering. If you're a sub with us already, a supporter, you get a free entry into this. If you're not and you're just a podcast listener on the free side, it's only $10. But basically, you're picking a team every week, and you can't pick the same team over again. But there's a lot of chances to do well with this because there's, every week there's some pretty obvious outcomes. But what you want to look at is like, all right, I want to use the Chiefs here, but maybe not use them here. I want to use the Browns here, but maybe not use them there. You got to use a lot of teams to win this week over week, to stay alive. That's why they call it Survivor, right, Brad?
Yeah, I mean, some people I know will like try to map out the entire way through the schedule. And then obviously as things happen, injuries and things, back quarterbacks play, they'll probably have to adjust along the way. But some people do it that way. I've never done it that way. I kind of like to just go week by week. But what you're looking for, I guess, would probably be like a team that you think can win, that you won't like. Probably you're not like one of the best teams in the NFL. Like who's the who's the team that can win that you're going to need the least later on is the kind of the way you want to do it. But you also don't want to flirt with getting eliminated at the beginning. So some people will just take a layup. I think Denver will be a really popular pick week 1. And I think this could be a popular pick. I think the Eagles over the Cowboys could be a popular pick.
Is this one where the Cowboys come out fired up because of the doubt? You know what I mean? Like because everybody's written them off, that kind of thing. I'm curious about that.
Oh, I'm sure. Is it in Philly? I'm looking right now. I don't know.
This is
would be a big indicator.
Real time. Jake and Brad going through this. But yeah, I don't know. I mean, this is where you're at. You're like, all right, I feel pretty good about, pretty good about the situation in Philly, and the Cowboys are uneven and all of that stuff. It's easy to arrive, I think, at a place where you get those, sort of easy outcomes. At least that's how I feel about it, Brad, that you can kind of get. Yeah, it is in Philly. It's an 8:20 kick. I mean, I don't know. We're not taking any points. This is obviously not a point spread. Let's just pick a winner. So, I mean, you got to take the Eagles here. But this was the one. This is one that could just ruin a bunch of people who take Philly. That's what you got to be aware of.
Yeah.
Can you get away with a Saints home win over the Cardinals to open the season, or a Jets home win over the Steelers? That's where you're like, all right, man, you want to fight. You want to kind of dance near the flames, but not, too close. Indeed. Right. So,
yeah.
All right.
Yeah, you don't want to take the chalk, like I think Denver and Philly will probably be the two chalkiest plays. Denver plays the Titans. So those are two easy minus 400 odds, larger spread games. But to your point, can you take a team, like if you think this is the best chance the Browns are going to have to win, you could really get risky there. I don't know if I suggest that, but you know what I mean? That kind of thought process, though, to what you said, like who do you think can win, but you're not going to need later on in a big spot. Right. So the bet, you want to, you don't want to be, you want to be risky, but not too risky. There's a strategy to it. So it's fun though. It's a lot of fun, and you can enter as many times as you want. On the $10 side, and that gives you a chance to play a couple different pathways to this.
Yeah.
When I enter these things, I try to, at least to take two different pathways, week one. So, and see where it takes you. And it's fun. It's a blast, though. It's a lot of strategy, and we'll be talking about it every week. So,
Yeah, I can't wait to do it. It'll be fun. So sign up now. There's a link. We'll put it in the put it in the description of this pod again. It'll be up on the website. It'll be in the notes for you can find it anywhere. We're excited to be doing this, and it'll be something you can readily find. And like Brad said, you can enter it multiple times as well. So we're pumped to do it. That's really it for the Open today. It's like I said, pretty quiet around Cleveland. We just want to update the injury report, update the things that kind of came out from the staff. A lot of the player questions were just very fluff based, not a ton. There was a good quote from Flacco about how he would have preferred if training camp had more opportunities for him to get ready. He didn't agree with the pathway for his preparation, but understood that was what they were doing in the young quarterbacks. And, Joe's savvy enough to understand that the league is, he's getting maybe one last chance here. And the Browns have to also keep their eye focused on what they have in house and if the future could be found. And so it was a good quote. I mean, he's always candid. I don't agree with it, but I understand where they're coming from. So that openness and honesty, I think, goes a long way in getting Joe to believe in what they're doing, and obviously hope to have him perform at a high level. The hope is he can play well this year and put it together for maybe one last full season and, keep the Browns relevant, keep them competitive. So I thought that was a good one.
It was a good quote. Yeah. Well, a good way to be candid, but stay loyal to your coach at the same time.
Agreed. I think he did well. So that's it, guys. That's all. We're going to switch over after the break here. We're going to have Jake Liscow from Locked On Bengals on, talk with him for 20 minutes or so about what the Bengals look like, how they're feeling going into week one, and see if the storylines Brad and I talked about are what are the most compelling things to them on their side as well. So, all right, that's it for the Open. We will be back right after this break. Browns Bengals, Jake, we've done this a few times over the years now, man, where we have linked up either, maybe a little earlier in the year when we've done some team previews, but we're always catching up with you at some point, man. So thanks for being here.
Yeah, glad to be here. Get the annual talk with you and a couple of Jakes here to talk about a couple of teams that were founded by guys with the same name too. Well, the same guy, I guess, but yeah, let's do it.
Let's do it, man. All right. So really the way I want to shape this, because the teams the pillars are the same. These two teams know each other well, and you're getting a lot of the same faces in the coaching staff, getting a lot of the same faces as the marquee players. Obviously, the little surrounding parts move and shake and all that, but it's two teams that know each other well. And I would say Browns' first 6 games are really challenging, and this one they feel like they need. But on the other end of the spectrum, especially after what happened last year with New England, as you know all too well, what I want to know is if I've been right about this, which is it's not, I'm not solving rocket science here, but the way the Bengals were aggressive in the preseason, playing guys who matter, the quotes around, what do they had like one win in the first 2 weeks in the last 4 or 5 years. It's just been noted they're slow start and they don't want to do that anymore. Yeah. And it feels like there's urgency to get this thing started right. Am I right on that or wrong?
It's been a huge talking point all offseason. It is definitely part of the reason, a big part of the reason that those guys that matter, the guys that are going to be playing on Sundays or playing on whatever the heck day they played preseason games that seem to be played every day of the week. And a big part of the reason for it, a big part of the reason the Bengals have had slow starts comes down to the way Joe's played at the beginning of seasons. He's been dealing with various ailments and maladies going into seasons for essentially his entire career, whether it's a global malady in the form of the COVID pandemic that changed the way the NFL worked when he was a rookie, or his appendix bursting, or his calf getting a little bit torn up at a time where he shouldn't have probably been practicing because he was a little bit tight that day. Mm-hmm. All these things add up, lead to him being kind of behind schedule. When Joe Burrow's going well, as anyone who watches Joe Burrow closely knows, a big part of what makes him very, very good, one of the best to do it, is the feel he develops for the timing he needs to play with both his receivers and with his offensive line. Go watch him in the Denver game late last year. Protection in that game is pretty terrible. Orlando Brown's playing on a broken leg, playing pretty well on a broken leg, to be fair. But a guy they just cut from the practice squad was starting at right tackle. Alex Cappa was starting at right guard in that game. Cordell Volson, who's on IR and was a long shot to make the team, I think.
Yeah.
Maybe that injury pushed him to sign Dalton Reisner, but was starting a left guard in that game. So a lot of overhaul, right? A lot of bad offensive linemen, a lot of bad pass protection in that game. And just watch the timing with which he plays in that game. When Joe Burrow's going well, he's getting the ball out microseconds before a defender's arm hits his arm or before he gets run over because there's an unblocked free runner. When he has that feel for the timing of the game, when the ball needs to come out, the accuracy, the ball placement is so good for him that when that timing, when that feel for the timing of the pocket of when his receivers are coming open
Mhm.
is there, that's when you see the nearly impossible to stop version of Joe Burrow. So getting him those preseason reps, I think you go back to his time at LSU, even he's a player that gets much better with reps. So even if they're preseason reps, just getting a feel for that live action, real ish game speed where guys are going to hit him. He took some hits in this second preseason game, should serve him well. I'm actually buying that matters for him, and that could be relevant to the way he starts the season, especially
Yeah.
since he got through all of training camp without missing any time or anything weird happening.
Well, I would say you're right about, and we were talking off air a little bit ahead of this about the heightened games these seem to be. Now, this is a 1 o'clock kick, but it is a season opener, so it does get a little bit of that forced into it. The Browns did play the Bengals well late October when they came to Cleveland. I think it was 21-14. To your point, Joe was dialed in that game, and I didn't think the guys around him played very well, but he made a couple throws in that I had to just kind of post because I was like, these are pretty ridiculous. I think there's a mic'd up moment where I think it maybe Isaiah McGuire, somebody's like, how'd you get that off, man? Like it's
Yeah.
anticipatorily really special when he's dialed in. So I think the reason you feel good as a Bengals fan, somebody breaking down the team, is that they understand this problem. They're trying to navigate the problem, and they did get everything solved. Let's talk real quick about getting all of that solved. The Hendrickson solve, the Shamar Stewart solve, that's a lot of noise, Jake. Like it's a lot of noise. And it's been like the wide receiver contracts and all of that. Is there internally, has it always been, because around the NFL, it's the Bengals are going to screw this up. They're going to have the wide receiver split up. Their Hendrickson's going to get traded. Like, are they really going to do this? They're going to get to that point. Shamar Stewart's going back to college. All those little goofy write-ups we're seeing. Like, I guess I wonder internally is like, you recognize obviously the Bengals miss some windows to get out in front of deals that should be done, but ultimately they seem to get done. So is it just like much to do about nothing, or is there very much an awareness or a frustration around some of these elements? Because it doesn't seem like the analysis for a Trey Hendrickson deal doesn't seem difficult, right? Based on every piece of data that's available, among some other things. So I get there's different routes this can all go, and you can choose and et cetera. But I just am curious if it's as sort of big a deal inside as it is externally.
I kind of always expected Trey to get done. It actually got done earlier than I expected it to get done. I thought it would be like, I don't know, tomorrow. I don't know when this is airing. We're recording this on Wednesday night.
Mhm.
So I thought it would be, I guess, looking at my phone here, September 4th, Thursday before week one. But they got it done, a solid week plus before that. It's not the deal that I thought they would get to. I thought they'd get to a 2-year extension. They didn't get there. They didn't get close on the guarantees. The Bengals apparently weren't willing to budge on guarantees outside of 2025. And that is like a real piece of frustration that they continue to be. And with the Micah Parsons deal and with the way the Steelers are doing some contracts lately, like those were their contemporaries in terms of contract structure, in terms of guarantees outside of year one. And they did break structure significantly for Jamar Chase. They broke structure a little bit for T. Higgins, and that was encouraging. But then they refused to do so for a guy that was just second in Defensive Player of the Year. And I know Trey Hendrickson is not Myles Garrett. Don't get it twisted. We're real here, right? Like we're not comparing those guys in terms of the quality of player they are. But Trey is a really good pass rusher. And without Trey, there's no one that's threatening a quarterback, at least not yet. So the reluctance to guarantee money in year two, not talking about year three, potentially inflating that year three number to make it funny money, the way that these NFL deals often work, where yeah, if they start to see signs of decline, maybe that year three they get off the hook.
Mhm.
That part is frustrating, but not to the degree that it was covered nationally. I never thought they were really entertaining a trade other than when you get caught up in the moment of the initial reports. right? When you get caught up in the moment of hearing like, yeah, they granted him permission to seek a trade. And it's like, oh, that's different. That is something they hadn't done in the past. And then you start to hear what they're asking for. And it's like, yeah, okay, they gave him permission to seek a trade if they can get a Carson Palmer kind of trade done,
Yeah.
like,
Yeah.
or an AJ McCarron trade that didn't happen with the Browns as a point of reference that you'll understand. Like a trade you're really going to win, like a
Yeah.
couple first round picks kind of thing. Obviously, they were never getting that. So they're like, yeah, sure, you can seek a trade. Good luck. That's kind of the gist of that came down to. The more recent trade reports with Trey, I never bought. The Shamar Stewart thing, actually, incidentally, I take their side on. I think that the way Shamar's camp went about that was pretty misguided, especially knowing who you're dealing with in the Cincinnati Bengals, the way they negotiated. As soon as that went public, I thought that was not going to end well for Shamar Stewart. You're allowed to negotiate whatever you want. Anything in contract language is in my position. You have every single right to negotiate that. If you're Shamar Stewart's agent, I think that Amarius Mims' agent negotiated the same thing the year before. I think Miles Murphy's agent negotiated the same clause the year before about the language around voiding future years guarantees if default of contract were to occur. The way this happened, it was made into this massive mountain. And now you got guys asking Mike Brown about it in the media. And Mike's like, this is dumb. I can't believe we're arguing about this. And when Mike Brown's like, this is silly, what are we doing here? I think you're in a pretty bad place from a negotiating perspective. So that was kind of nothing to me. It's just a shame that they missed a few weeks of work with Shamar Stewart, early in training camp and in the OTAs.
So it's different in the Browns world where it seems like these are not the same problems, but the Browns problem is perception of person they have acquired, right? Versus it feels like the Bengals' perception is financially being a bit stingy, right? I
Yeah.
think that's fair, Jake.
Mm-hmm.
I guess the question would be, do you see that ever evolving, or do you think that that's just going to be who they are and they're going to miss that early? This is you and James talk about this, and I'm sure there's a lot of smart people covering the Bengals like Joe and others who are like, hey, man, there's such an advantage to getting these deals done with your clearly talented players early and beating the market. And it's just something you accept is not going to happen around there. Is that where it's at?
No, we keep criticizing them for it.
Yeah.
So except I wouldn't say as a word. That's another bit that's really frustrating. So the guarantees outside of year one, the structure issue. And I've often phrased this, so people that have come over to listen to this, that listen to me often, if there are any of you out there, you've heard me say this before, it's trying to save a dime and it ends up costing them $1 every time. Like the slow, like imagine they had done the Jesse Bates deal. He's in, I think the last year, maybe he's got 2 years left. I'm not sure. $17 million a year. Kyle Hamilton signs a $25 million contract in your division. You feel pretty dang good about having Jesse Bates at $17 million after that contract comes down. And your defense isn't probably the reason that every single NFL analyst in the world is picking against you to make the playoffs this year because of what they saw last year. I mean, you know how those picks go. So much of that based on previous year perception, but some of that is definitely a problem. They cost themselves a lot of money. They do not maximize their cap space at all. And that is particularly frustrating in a window where you haven't won a Super Bowl. Like maybe once you go all in when you have a quarterback that's as good as Joe Burrow. Maybe once you structure these deals so you can go get a real safety, so you can go get a real defensive tackle, so you can go solve some of these issues that aren't Dalton Risner signing with you 2 weeks before week 1 of the regular season. And he's not even going to start. And I think he's better than who they're going to run out there to start because he wasn't with you all training camp. And it's a complicated offense. And the protection is the most complicated part, perhaps. So some of those things are frustrating, how slow they are to react, how slow they are to change. But honestly, you got to give them credit this year too, because they did get the receivers done. They did eventually make Trey happier, not quite happy, but they found a compromise. They did make moves late in the offseason that I think are legitimately good moves. Noah Fant, I think, is a legitimately good move for when that move happened. Dalton Risner, a legitimately good move for 2 weeks before the start of the regular season. But there's, little bits of frustration